My husband had told me that he was working late. The hours went by, and then the hospital had called me. But when I arrived, the lady who was sitting next to his bed was not me. She was his emergency contact, and he had her hand in his. I would enjoy the silence in our house when he went away to work. It was not a silencing silence. It was a peaceful one, broken by the soft humming of the fridge and the soft hushing of the wind against our bedroom window across the great oaks. Mark was a joiner, and his hands, hard and muscular, were his passion. They created things, shelves, chairs, a beautiful wee cradle we'd left in the spare room, just in case. He'd smile, winking. Our love was not a whirlwind affair. It was a slow creep, sloshing over and keeping us submerged until we suffocated. We ran into one another by accident at a coffee shop downtown. I was frantically trying to fold a difficult origami crane, and he simply leaned over and showed me. No over-the-top pickup lines, no dramatic poses. Just a fleeting moment of shared intensity on a single sheet of paper. That was Mark. He had this ability to make everything seem easy, straightforward. For 10 years, our life was a string of those serene, beautiful moments. Cooking dinner together, the smell of garlic and herbs filling the room. Sundays on the couch, under blankets, watching favorites. The way he always knew when I was all het up and would sit patiently, offering me a cup of tea. Not a fiery, smoldering one, not a fiery one, but a warm, comfortable one. A homecoming type of love. He was my rock, my anchor. I never questioned him, not even for a moment. We had talked about everything, from the future we were going to have to what used to annoy us. We had planned our holiday next year, sketched out a garden that we would have in the garden, even named our non-existent children. It all felt so solid, indestructible. Things had changed, though, lately. Something you couldn't grasp, only a variation in rhythm in our lives. He worked overtime, or so he claimed. Large project, he'd mention, a very demanding client, and she wants a strange kitchen. The lunch hour telephone calls he made to me stopped. When he arrived home, he was tired, more distant. He'd just grumble, long day, babe, and that was the extent of it. I didn't fret. I told myself it was stress from work. I'd make him his favorite dinner, coax him to open up. He'd grin, crooked, and thank me, but the spark wasn't there. The easy silence that had once been ours now felt suffocating, weighed down with unspoken stuff. It was a Tuesday night, and he called me a minute shy of his departure time to head home. Hey, babe, his voice strained, going to be beyond late tonight. Just too much work. Oh, okay, I said, not wanting the letdown to creep into my tone. Don't work too hard, okay? I won't. I swear. Love you. Love you too, I answered, but he'd already hung the phone up on me. I tried to shake the discomfort that had taken up residence in my stomach. I had dinner by myself, the silence of the house booming in my ears. I stayed awake and watched a movie, but my mind repeatedly drifted back to him, to the slight distance that had come between us. The house was too big, too empty. I must have fallen asleep on the couch, because the next thing I remember is the jarring, screeching ring of the landline. It was a sound we never heard anymore. My heart pounded in my chest as I looked around for the receiver to answer it. Hello, I groggily mumbled, my mouth full of sleep. Is this Mrs. Harper? A calm, professional voice responded. St. Jude's Hospital. There's been an accident with a Mr. Mark Harper. The world had spun back around on its axis. The air was driven from my body. An accident? Is he okay? He's stable. The voice went on. He was involved in a car crash. We just want you to come into hospital. The remainder of our call, I have no idea. I put down the phone and shook, holding onto my keys. My head was in a confused mix of worry and fear. He had been injured? How badly? The vision of him, my gruff, dependable Mark, in a hospital bed was terrifying. The ride in the hospital was a tear-soaked, frantic blur. I'd been reliving the last time I'd seen him, the pecking, rushed goodbye kiss that morning. I wished I'd hugged him tighter, wished I'd said I love you louder. The what-ifs actually hurt in my chest. I pushed open the doors of the emergency room myself, my chest pounding. I assigned the name Mark to the woman standing behind the reception desk, and she motioned for me into the waiting area. I made my way down the cold linoleum hallway, the whine of the overhead lights, my footsteps growing heavier with every step. I imagined him, bruised and terrified, waiting for me. I was his wife, his person. I was the one that he'd need to see. I literally ended up at the 302 room where she had instructed me. I was standing at the door, my breath caught in my throat. And then I saw her. A woman. A stranger. She was sitting on Mark's bed. Her hand was on top of his. He was standing, his head wrapped, his arm in a sling. He was not looking at me, he was looking at her. And her face was holding to her an astonishing worry and relief that was precisely the same as mine. I froze in the doorway for a moment. The room was so intimate, so desperately out of place. Her curly dark hair stretched across her shoulders, and there was a bright red sweater. A sweater I'd never seen. A sweater I didn't know. My mind was reeling, trying to place the picture in front of me into context. Who was she? Was she a friend? A coworker? Why had she come to stand in my place, clutching his hand? I managed to get my voice out. Mark. The name slipped off my lips in a whisper. He glanced up, his eyes wide with shock. The woman's head whirled around, her face going white as she saw me. Mark yanked his hand free from hers. Slowly, painfully, a realization began creeping into me. This woman was not a stranger. How she was sitting, how her face looked, this was no social call. Claire, he whispered, his voice so low that it was like nothing at all. He looked from me to her, a spark of terror in his eyes. Who? Who is she? I managed to whisper, my voice trembling just above a whisper. The woman got up, her face one of confusion and loss. She regarded me, then Mark. Mark, you did not inform me that you were married. My world shattered. Those 7 words hit me in the gut. The air in the room thickened and became choking. The buzz of lights, the beep of machines all receded to a low throb within my skull. The ache in my chest turned to white fire, burning. He never informed her. He had a secret life, a double life, and he never informed her that there was me. It was not one night, one-time transgression. It was an affair. The manner in which she had spoken, her face, it was genuine. I glared at Mark, tears overflowing. Who is she, Mark? I asked again, but now my voice was no longer a question. It was an accusation. The hospital called me. Why was she here first? Why is she your emergency contact? He turned away, not capable of looking into my eyes. There was the silence between us, strained with his unspoken lie. The woman still, I did not even know her name, was staring at me, her own lostness and pain on her face. She too was a victim, I realized with another wave of nausea. She was as lost as I was. I experienced a swooning plunge, as though a massive skyscraper falling into nothingness. The memories of 10 years, the whispers, the secrets whispered, the future plans, all an illusion. All the tender caresses, all the I love yous, all the all-nighters toiling. Oasis mirage. Our venture, sturdy pillar of relation, was but a house of cards constructed of gossamer, and only one small breath of wind had knocked them all down. The woman then spoke. I'm Emily, she whispered, shaking. I just received the phone call from the hospital. They informed me that he was in an accident. I was terrified. She stopped, looking at Mark for a reason that I couldn't offer. You're his girlfriend? I asked, the words souring on my tongue. She winced. He said to me that he was divorced. That you and he had been apart for years. The deception had been so profound, so total. Not a lapse in judgment, but an entire other life that he had constructed, stone by stone. My thoughts went back to the late evenings, the abrupt withdrawal, the telephone calls that ceased. It was all now explained. He wasn't designing a kitchen. He was designing an other life with someone else. I caught a cold, numb detachment seeping in. The pain was so severe that it had passed beyond tears. I was there, looking at the man I thought I knew, the man who had built a cradle for our unborn child, and the woman whom he had put down as his emergency contact. The woman he had trusted to be there for him during a crisis. Not me. I must go, I said, saying the words oddly upon my lips. I did not give him time to reply. I merely turned and headed away from that room. The door at the other end of the hallway below me may as well have been 1,000,000 miles, and with each step, The burden of 10 years of lies grew heavier over me. I did not glance back. There was nothing to return for. I sat in my car, arms wrapped around the steering wheel. It was raining, beating slowly and sorrowfully against the windshield. I was not just brokenhearted. I was lost. I had no concept who I was without him. My identity had become so intertwined with being Mark's wife, with our life as a couple, that its stripping left me a ghost. But when the tears arrived, at last hot and scalding, a fresh feeling was rising from the ashes. A bitter but indomitable determination. He had shattered our life, but he had not shattered me. I was Claire. I was the woman who loved still mornings and paper cranes. I was a human being, whole and complete without him. And I would be once more. The lie was his. The pain was his to endure. But my fate? That was mine. I didn't know what the future held. The future that lay before me was dark and uncertain. But for the first time in a very, very long time, the path in front of me was mine to create. I was scared, yes, but under the fear, a tiny flame of courage began. I would not be held captive to his betrayal. I would not be defeated by his choices. I would remake. Not our life, but mine. I got into the car and left the hospital. The rain kept falling, washing over the world. It was a new beginning, a clean page, and I was prepared to start painting. If you've ever experienced anything like it, I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments. And if this video just resonated with you a little, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.